Welcome to my channel. Today, we dive into an exciting fan theory. What if Naruto and Kurama reborn and time traveled to the past with all their memories? Naruto was floating. He didn't know where he was or what he was doing floating around without a care in the world, but he knew one irrefutable fact. He died. That's right. He, Uzumaki Naruto, died. He couldn't fully stop Madara and Obito's plan. Not because he was killed. Not because his skill wasn't up to snuff. No. He died because he overestimated his body in using Kurama's chakra. As he was about to deal the final blow using an overpowered, oversized, Kyuubi-powered Rasen Shuriken, his body simply shut down, allowing Obito to command the Jubi to obliterate his body in a single Imari while in midair. Naruto knew that even with his unshakable determination, there was no way to escape death. He was dead, and he left his friends behind to defeat the Jubi. He believed in their success, but he knew that lives would be lost in the process. He didn't know how long he was floating around in the darkness. He tried to delve into his mindscape to see if Kurama was still there, but couldn't because he could no longer feel his partner. That thought made him sad, since that was another promise he didn't fulfill. What would you do if you were offered a chance to do it all over again? Naruto was startled when a voice spoke in his head. What would you do if you were offered a chance to do it all over again, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto? The voice asked again. If I am given another chance to save my precious people, then I'll take it. Naruto answered without a second thought, his determination behind his voice. I see. Along with this offer, if you were offered a boon, anything from powers to a favor, what would you ask to aid you in this task? The voice asked, this time with a hint of humor. Naruto was silent as he pondered the question. What gift would he ask for? What favor would be important enough to help him? A grin appeared on his face as he answered, I would ask for Kurama and my memories of the future. The voice didn't answer for a few minutes before a bright light engulfed him. Done. Good luck, child of prophecy. Good luck, Naruto. The voice boomed, but Naruto sensed the underlying love and kindness that made him feel warm and wanted. Naruto knew then that he was offered a chance by Kami, and this time around, he wasn't going to fail. He was going to make sure that everything turns out good for everyone. He was Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. He was going to succeed. Believe it. Kami gave himself a mental pat on the back for a job well done. The first part of the prophecy he gave to the Toads was complete. It was part of his game plan that the child of prophecy, his chosen one, would return because he lacked the mental aptitude and training to achieve what he wanted in the previous timeline. Now, the second part of the prophecy was in play, and he couldn't help but give out a giddy laugh at the thought of all the chaos his little blonde Jinchuriki would do on this timeline. Realizing that he could make this better and ensure that his child would succeed in the task he laid out in front of him, he released a pulse of power to give the blonde a helping hand. All over the elemental nations, 8 beasts of power were startled when a stream of memories flowed into their minds. They recognized the energy signature that came with the memories, and they all instinctively knew what to do. The wheel of destiny turns for one Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki. Naruto woke up with a groan, trying to remember what happened to him. One moment he was floating in nothingness, spoken to by a melodious voice that he knew came from Kami, then engulfed in a really bright light and nothing. He opened his eyes to see the ceiling of his rundown apartment. He mentally cheered that he was back to set things right, but he wasn't prepared when a gruff voice interrupted him. Would you mind toning it down, Kit? You're giving me a migraine. Naruto paused when he recognized the voice in his head. He did the only thing he could. He immediately went into his mindscape, appearing in front of a large cage, ran in between the bars, and jumped with all of his strength into the face of one startled Bijou. Kurama! Kurama chuckled before plucking out a happy Naruto from his face and placing him down on the watery ground. He was quite surprised that he was still alive, since the last thing he remembered was him and Naruto being vaporized by the Jubi's potent Imari. He didn't know why he was still alive. Judging from the boy in front of him, they were in the past. Was it all a dream, or did they really travel back in time? You know, Kit, you can't just seem to stop from doing the impossible, Kurama said in an odd tone before chuckling in amusement. Huh? Was all Naruto said with a tilt of his head in confusion. I don't know what happened, but from the looks of it, we are back in the past. You look like a 10-year-old. The Bijou said bluntly, speculatively eyeing his partner's rather diminutive form. I think it would be safe to say that you are 10 years old, give or take a few months. Naruto gave the fox a skeptical look before looking down at his body. The fox was right. He was definitely small, and he recognized the clothes he was wearing. He clearly remembered that the orange shirt and blue pants he was wearing was given to him by the Sandaime on his 10th birthday, but he lost it a few months later after making a mess of it during his pseudo training. He saw his reflection on the water at his feet and could help but curse. Shit. So let me get this straight. You remember floating in the void, and you heard a voice in your head asking what you would do if offered a second chance. You answered that you'd take it and do it right this time. The voice then asked what gift or favor you want. You answered by making sure that yours and mine's memories of the future are intact. The next thing you know, you find yourself alive in your apartment before coming into the mindscape when you heard my voice. Did I leave anything out? Kurama asked with disbelief. It would seem that not only was his partner lucky, he was also blessed, considering Kami himself granted him a second chance and a boon. He was also touched that the boy asked for nothing but their memories instead of ultimate power. The boy was definitely a fool to waste such a chance, but he was a lovable and kind fool. He was his fool, and Kurama wouldn't have it any other way. Yep, Naruto said cheerfully before his face turned serious, one that Kurama recognized as the boy's game face. I think we need to plan this carefully. If we are going to beat Madara and Obito and stopping the Jubi from being resurrected, we need to stick to the timeline and make sure that all preparations are in place. Agreed. The events leading up to before the Jubi must be maintained to ensure that we have full control. If we deviate from the timeline, then you can be sure that something new will happen. I take it that you're not putting on your idiot mask this time around? Kurama asked mildly. He knew that Naruto only acted the knucklehead ninja because he knew what would happen if he showed everyone that his brains weren't just fluff. The civilians would practically have a field day over it. This time, however, the boy seemed to be deciding against it. I think it's time that Konoha learns of the real Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto declared with a glint in his eyes. Kurama, can I rely on you to help me set things right? I know I'm not the smartest bloke on the block, so I will need your input if we plan to make this right. I have your back, kid. You're my partner, after all, Kurama said with a huge grin on his face. Thanks, partner, Naruto grinned. Now all we need to do is to get you out of that cage. That's impossible at the moment, Kurama said with a grunt. Eh? You're currently 10 years old, Kit, so you don't have the key to open the lock. The only way for you to acquire the key is to summon the toads. As it stands, the only way for you to sign their contract is during the 1-month break before the finals of the Chunin exam, when you meet that perverted sensei of yours, Kurama answered, pointing out to the boy that he didn't sign the toad contract yet. Hell, the boy wasn't even a shinobi yet. Darn it. But I can still train using your chakra, right? Naruto asked, frowning as he tried to work around the training plans he had in his head. He already thought of using shadow clones to speed up his learning curve while he concentrates on improving his body's adaptability and resistance to Kurama's chakra. Oh well, he was always good at improvisation anyway, so this wasn't anything new. Why do you need my chakra? Kurama asked, confused. The boy already had chakra in spades, so what in the world was the boy planning? The reason why we failed is because my body wasn't accustomed to using your chakra. My body simply shut down when I did the Rasen Shuriken to destroy Obito, Madara, and the Jubi. I was thinking that if I trained with your chakra every day, my body would eventually get used to your energy so I can last longer with it without breaking down, explained Naruto to a rather intrigued Biju. Heck, with my healing factor, it's quite possible that I can stay in tailed beast mode for hours without getting tired or my body shutting down on me. That's way better compared to the 5-minute limit in the previous timeline. That's a good idea, but you don't need to open the gate in order to use my chakra. Well, you do if you plan to go 9 Tails chakra mode or the tailed beast mode, but anything lesser won't require releasing me from this prison, Kurama pointed out. Seeing the confused look on the boy's face, he decided to explain. If you remember, the first time you used my chakra was during the wave mission when you encountered Haku. Granted, I was trying to control you that time, so you succumbed to the bloodlust. Oh, you mean I can use your chakra now without me blacking out and you controlling my body? Naruto said with a sly grin on his face, mimicked by the Biju. Nah, considering that I now know that Madara and Obito are out there with their evolved Sharingan, I definitely don't want to get out since they can easily control me. With me inside you, there is no way for them to do so. Besides, I like you, and we both promised each other to be partners, so I have no problems with you using my chakra. However, I will be limiting the chakra use, since I don't want you to rely on it too much. You don't have to worry about that, partner. I will only use your chakra as a last resort. Besides, considering that I'm still 10 years old, I still have 5 more years to train before I graduate from the academy. That was my original plan. Train as hard as I can during the academy years while masking what I can do to avoid suspicions, Naruto said seriously, making Kurama nod in agreement. Good. I will also be doing the same thing myself, but this time around, I'm going to give you something that I haven't done before. What's that? Naruto asked curiously, not knowing what his partner was trying to say. Jinchurikis by nature acquire the traits of the Biju they hold. For example, Shukaku allows Gaara to control sand. Matatabi allows her Jinchuriki to control intense flames. Chome grants his Jinchuriki to manifest his wings to fly. Even the slug gave his container the ability to use bubbles. Each of my brothers can give their hosts a unique skill as part of the package of being containers. I didn't give you one because I was, unwilling at that time, refraining myself from modifying your body to grant you the ability. This time, however, I'm not going to make the same mistake. Since we have a mission, withholding a power that would prove useful to our survival is just a recipe for disaster. Whoa, that's great. What ability are we talking about here? Naruto asked excitedly. He was somewhat confused as to why he didn't display similar powers as with the other Jinchuriki. Now he knew why. A thought occurred to him. Hey, isn't my advanced healing factor already a Jinchuriki trait? Kurama shook his head in the negative. No. Actually, your healing factor comes from the Yang chakra sealed inside me, as it continues to bleed into your system in small increments. As you know, Yang chakra is called light or life chakra, since it is connected to the physical realm. The Yondaime used the Shikifujin to separate my yin and yang chakra, sealing the yin chakra into the Shinigami, but leaving the yang chakra since it is too much for the entity to consume. Because of the yang chakra's life-giving properties, You acquired a fast healing factor as a side effect. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool, I guess. Naruto mused. So what ability are you going to give me? You already used this ability many times when using my chakra, though I was the one controlling it at that time. This time, however, I will give you this ability so you can use it with your chakra. The ability is called the Chakra Shroud. Isn't that the thing covering me when I'm using your chakra? Naruto asked, remembering the times he used Kurama's energy. Yes, however. I'll tweak your DNA so you can use the shroud using your own chakra. Meaning, you can call it up any time without needing my help. You will still need to train with it since it would be somewhat harder for you to manipulate your chakra to produce the shroud without me doing it for you. The shroud also comes with different abilities, but we can talk about that later, Kurama explained to an excited Naruto. Anyway, what's your plan? We might as well discuss it now since we have nothing better to do. My plan so far involves training myself, getting back the skills I have before we died, Naruto said with a frown. Naruto spent most of the day planning with Kurama, making sure there were no holes in their strategy to avoid giving a win to Madara and Obito's plot. They both decided that no one should know of their status as time travelers, as that could complicate the timeline if someone's actions deviated from the norm. However, they would nudge key people to make things more advantageous for them. The first item on their to-do list was to ensure that Haku and Zabuza survive during the wave mission. Haku for being Naruto's friend, and Zabuza as Haku's master and precious person. Both would be a great help to Konoha, and Naruto was sure that the Sandaime wouldn't mind adding the two to the village's shinobi ranks if he asked. Next up were Sasuke and Sakura. With his knowledge of the future, Naruto knew that both would become powerful with their innate abilities in the shinobi arts. Sasuke in ninjutsu and kenjutsu, while Sakura excelled in taijutsu and medical jutsu. Nudging the two would be complicated, but Naruto could work around that if necessary. Both were smart enough to see logic if he pointed them out. As such, Naruto decided to stay as the class idiot, so he would end up being in their team. Kurama was a bit hard to convince regarding Sasuke, but the Biju couldn't deny that having an Uchiha in their camp would make things better in the long run. To get this working, he needed to befriend the two during the academy and get them to train with him. Naruto knew this would be a challenge he had no problems diving into. The Chunin exam was also important, but this time around, Naruto would make sure that his team would pass with flying colors. He also needed to prepare for Orochimaru and make sure that the snake wouldn't be able to mark Sasuke, as that was the reason why the person he considered a brother went down the dark path. He also needed to work with Jiraiya. He and Kurama realized that they needed to reveal what they know to the Toad Sage in order to access the key to release Kurama from the seal, and give Naruto the ability to access Kyuubi Chakra Mode and Tailed Beast Mode. Thankfully, because of his partnership with Kurama, he could go up to 7 tails without succumbing to the bloodlust. Speaking of the snake, Naruto would make sure that the Sandaime survives the invasion. Since there was no way to stop it without revealing his knowledge of the future, he would have to prepare so he could bail out his surrogate grandfather before he ended up doing the Shiki Fujin and sacrificing his life just to get rid of Orochimaru's arms. He also needed to deal with Gaara, but he was sure that he could get it done easily thanks to his partnership with Kurama and knowing the boy's weakness in breaking him out of Shukaku's grip. He was playing with the idea of possibly recruiting Jiraiya to make a better seal for Gaara to minimize Shukaku's influence so his Jinchuriki brother could sleep. He didn't need to plan for Tsunade since, if his assumption was correct, the Sandaime would still bring her back as the Godaime since he was getting too old to keep his position. He was way due for a retirement after all. Naruto and Kurama decided to end their planning for now since they had too much on their plate at the moment. If there was one thing both learned during the battle in the future, having too much in their mind would just cause them to miss important details that would give them a headache in the long run. Naruto woke up sometime around dawn. The sun wasn't up yet, but from the light on the horizon, It would be an hour or two away when the sun finally shows itself to the world. He was quite thankful that Kami had the foresight to return him to a time and place conducive to acclimating to a new surrounding after experiencing his death. He was also thankful that Kami returned him at the start of the summer after his first academy year. He frowned upon realizing that he would have to fail twice to be in the same class as his friends in the previous timeline. It might be humiliating considering what he was capable of, but if he wanted this to work, then he would have to suck up his pride and deal with it. Since it was already morning, he decided to take a bath and grab something to eat before his training, which ended up being ramen since he didn't have anything in stock for a healthy meal. That was one of the things he needed to change. Ramen was good and all, but it ended up stunting his growth and power. If he wanted to excel in his training, he needed to eat well and eat right. He didn't have problems acquiring food since he could buy some with his orphan allowance. Under henge, of course, since some stores always kick him out. Or hunt for some meat in the forest thanks to his survival training with Jiraiya in the wilderness. He also made a mental note to clean his apartment, since it didn't suit his 18-year-old mind living in a dirty place. His morning routine done, Naruto exited his apartment and ran all the way to a secret training ground he knew behind the Hokage monument. Since he wanted to hide his training, then the usual grounds were off-limits until he became Genin. Of course, Training Ground 7 was off-limits even if he wanted to go there. While running, Naruto noticed that he was a bit clumsy with his movements. That's because your 18-year-old mind is not used to your 10-year-old body. This is the reason why you need to train so you can move like you used to, Kurama told him while relaxing behind his cage. I thought as much, Naruto replied. Anyway, we're here. The clearing was sizable, comparable to half of the Konoha Stadium. So he started with 20 laps of light jogging to get his mind used to working with his 10-year-old self. It took him 2 hours to finish before starting with 10 laps of running at full speed. He was panting like a maniac after the last lap. He still had his legendary stamina, but it was limited now thanks to how young he was. He wasn't worried though, since training could fix that in a few years, if not months, considering who he was carrying in his gut to speed up the process. He took a 10-minute break to meditate before spending an hour going through the Gamma Ken since it was a good workout to get his muscle control back. After 5 hours of constant movement, he finally achieved full control over his body. He was sad that he lost his previous power and speed, vowing to continue his training to reach his previous strength, and then some since he had an early start. He caught a few fish in the river for lunch and cooked them over a small fire as he relaxed on the soft grass. After lunch, he decided to see if his chakra was enough to perform his favorite technique.
Naruto utilized the 3-month break from the academy to enhance his physical abilities significantly. Inspired by Rock Lee, he incorporated weights into his training, enhancing both his strength and speed. With Kurama's reassurance that his healing factor would counter any potential growth hindrance, Naruto confidently used henge to disguise himself and purchased weights for both his arms and legs, doubling his training efficiency. He also invested in kunais and shurikens with his remaining allowance to improve his accuracy. With a bit of guidance from Kurama, Naruto meticulously planned out his daily training schedule. Mornings were dedicated to strength and speed, early afternoons to honing his accuracy with kunai and shuriken, and later to mastering the Rasengan. He even decided to challenge himself further by attempting to perfect the Rasengan without any clone assistance, focusing on mastering each step of the technique. Kurama highlighted how each step of the Rasengan was essentially a chakra control exercise, boosting Naruto's motivation to master his father's jutsu. The first step involved manipulating chakra to create various rotations within his palm. The second required controlling the chakra to optimize the jutsu's power. And the third step demanded intense focus to form a dense chakra coat around the spinning construct, completing the Rasengan. With this newfound understanding, Naruto's determination soared, eager to master the technique that had become even more significant to him. In the serene clearing, Naruto stood enveloped in a vibrant red chakra shroud, shaped distinctly like a fox. As he attempted to form a second tail, his body twitched and the chakra dissipated, leaving him gasping for air on his knees. That was hard, he panted, reflecting on the challenge of controlling Kurama's chakra beyond the one-tail mode. Despite their synchronization, which kept the bloodlust at bay, manifesting a second tail proved difficult. Kurama, observing from behind his cage, encouraged him, noting his progress despite the setbacks. Over the past month, Naruto had been training to adapt to the Bijuu's chakra, with Kurama controlling the output to ensure perfect sync. Not really. I still can't form the second tail completely, Naruto expressed, feeling somewhat dejected. Kurama quickly scolded him, reminding him of his young age and the inherent challenges of harnessing such potent energy. They discussed the nuances of the training, with Kurama advising Naruto to gradually adjust to the chakra surges. As the night progressed, Naruto painstakingly worked on managing the one-tail mode, slowly integrating more of Kurama's chakra. By midnight, he had successfully maintained the one-tail mode for 8 hours and managed an additional 25% progression into the second tail, all without physical repercussions, a testament to his endurance and Kurama's guidance. As a 12-year-old, Naruto yawned and pushed off his bed, ready to start his first year at the academy for the third time, determined not to fail again. Now classmates with the future Rookie 9, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Over the past 2 years, Naruto hadn't wasted any time. He utilized his clones efficiently, sending some to the library to learn various subjects while others practiced chakra control or hunted for furs to sell. His entrepreneurial spirit paid off, allowing him to sell high-quality furs monthly, though he was careful not to overhunt, mindful of the ecosystem around Konoha. This period also allowed him to amass a wealth of knowledge, not only in shinobi arts, but in practical civilian skills like carpentry and hunting, enhancing his daily life significantly. With a solid foundation in the basics of shinobi arts, Naruto now planned his future training, particularly interested in creating his own wind jutsus, given the scarcity in Konoha. His journey through the academy was not just about academic success, but about preparing himself for the greater challenges ahead. After taking a bath, he donned a pair of black cargo pants, a dark blue muscle shirt, and a pair of shinobi sandals. He knew that he was deviating from his usual orange jumpsuit, but he didn't care. Sure, he loved orange, but his death practically changed his mindset. He didn't know why he persisted in wearing a jumpsuit that screamed, "Hit me, I'm here," every time he went out on a mission outside the village. He shook his head at the thought before making the usual batch of clones for his daily training and studies. He made a healthy breakfast of eggs, rice, and meat, and topped it off with a glass of orange juice fresh from the forest. He found a bunch of fruit trees a few kilometers outside the village walls and made it a point to take care of them since fresh fruits were a welcome part of his healthy diet without having to buy them from the hateful villagers. He settled down to eat his breakfast as his thoughts whirled on seeing his friends again. It would be weird to see them as 12-year-olds, though he immediately squashed that thought since he was the same age as them. The years in the academy were going to be fun. Naruto tuned out Iruka's monologue of Konoha's history. Instead, he was busy thinking about the rest of the Rookie 9 and what he needed to do to make sure that the future where he died wouldn't come to pass. It was then that Naruto realized that aside from him, Sasuke, and Sakura, the rest of the Rookie 9 played a minor hand in things to come, more so at their current age. However, they would be a great help if they became stronger than they were in the previous timeline. Instead of focusing on all of them, Naruto decided to stick to his team since the rest could be molded by their respective senseis. For now, he needed to decide what to do with Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto turned his head to look at the last loyal Uchiha of Konoha. The Uchiha massacre definitely scarred his soon-to-be brother and best friend. Thanks to Itachi's Tsukiyomi, Sasuke traveled the path of destruction just because his older brother wanted to die by his hand. However, Naruto couldn't deny the fact that Sasuke became stronger because of it, though he was sure that Sasuke would be stronger if given the right advice and incentive. Naruto couldn't help but compare Team 7 to the Sannin. Team 7 was definitely similar to Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. Of course, Naruto as the Toad Summoner was Jiraiya. Sakura, with her perfect chakra control and talent in medical techniques, was Tsunade. Sasuke turning traitor because of a traumatizing event was Orochimaru's counterpart. Naruto knew that if he wanted to improve Team 7, then he would have to start early if he wanted things to work in his favor. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know if you want to see a part 2 of this series.